Good morning. It is Mother's Day weekend. All right, I've got some scary news, some good news, and some bad news. Let's start with the scary news. The United States wants to suspend habeas corpus. Why is this important? The most successful economies live under the rule of law. The least successful economies, the ones that have the most problems, they're a little fuzzy on the law. The reality is this. For an economy to function well, for society to function well, there has to be a degree of trust. People have to know that the law has their back, regardless of what the issue is. This is another element that will cause worry about what's happening in the United States, and this will affect them economically. And of course, that will affect everybody. All right, the good and the bad news. Canadian financial system is stable, but trade war poses big risks. All right, so the jobs report came out recently. And employment would have fallen by 30,000 in April had it not been for the temporary jobs created because of the election. There's also concern about the amount of debt out there and mortgage renewals that are coming up this year. Now, this is the level of impaired loans, so loans that are not being covered in general. They've gone up a little bit, but as you can see, we're far away from the really bad times. And then there's the mortgage delinquencies. That's where we are. That's where we could be if there is a severe and long-lasting global trade war. Now, some people have shared this without pointing out this very important point on this chart. That's the amount. That's the rate right there. So we're down here just over 0.2%, and it could go up to just under 0.6%. Let's compare that to the United States. In Q4 of 2024, their default rate was 1.77%. And the Bank of Canada is worried that our default rate will increase to less than half of that amount. So yes, any increase is bad, but in the big picture, it's not that bad. And there is good news. Like this trade war is having an effect on imports and exports, right? And our imports dropped by 1.5% and exports dropped a little bit by 0.2%. But exports to the United States dropped by 6.6%, but were almost compensated by an increase in exports to the rest of the world. Trump's tariff war sees trade with the US shrink, but exports to Europe surge. Exports to countries other than the United States experienced a significant uptick, rising 24.8%, the second largest monthly increase on record. So, there's good news out there. There's light at the end of the tunnel. It's not all doom and gloom. They say every cloud has a silver lining, and here's a silver lining for us. We have relied on the United States too much for too long. And this dark cloud that has appeared has forced us to look at other trading partners. It seems to be working. The next rate announcement isn't until June, but the next inflation announcement is in 10 days. I'm expecting the inflation to come in somewhere between 1.2 and 1.4% because the carbon tax is gone and the price of oil fell drastically. So Tiff will have that on his mind. Tiff will have this on his mind. Tiff will have that on his mind. And even though the Fed held rates, the United States dollar is not doing so hot. So Tiff has room to move. Will the June announcement see a rate cut? It should. We should have cut at the last announcement.